simple ligaments of joint capsule for the hip. So you'll see that pretty well in lab next week if we ever get to our section. But again, ligament, definitely know, holds bone to bone. Okay? You know, your guys like that's easy, but someone always misses the question. Difference between tendons and ligaments, so don't miss it. Alright, so those are the 5 things always with synovial joints. We have 2 other things that are usually associated with synovial joints, but not always. Okay, so we have bursa sacs and tendon sheaths that usually you will see. They are helpful structures at joints, but not every joint will have these structures. Usually that's some sort of test question. So know that these are usually associated, but not always part of synovial joints. All right, so the bursa sac is going to be filled with synovial fluid. If it's filled with synovial fluid, what's its function? Yeah, reduce friction. We said synovial fluid's there to reduce friction. So these bursa sacs are filled with that, so they reduce friction. It's really helpful in these joints, yeah. Good question. This isn't more for the actual joint inside between the bones. Usually it's going to be between something like here. We have the joint with the head of humerus and the glenoid fossa. So that part's got synovial fluid inside, but your arm has a lot of movement at that shoulder joint. So as you pull up, right above that is your your acromion process, clavicle. So right under that acromion process, right there is a bursa sac to help make that movement easier. You don't want your arm to come up and just grind with the acromion process up above. Also at the knee, between the patella and the skin, there's a lot of movement with that skin over the patella. So if we have a little bursa sac in front of the kneecap, makes that movement easier so your skin's not just rubbing over the patella. Same down here between the ligament and bone. There's a bursa sac to reduce friction, so it doesn't necessarily have to be inside the joint cavity. A lot of these are outside the joint cavity. Tendon sheaths are very similar. It's an elongated bursa sac, so if it's a bursa sac, it means it has synovial fluid, so function again. Right, reduce friction. So instead of just being a little sac of synovial fluid, these are elongated and wrap around the tendon, which is pretty helpful, especially your biceps tendon. So if you look here, you have these greater and lesser tubercles. What is that space right in between the tubercles called? Good, intertubercular groove. One of the tendons of your bicep muscle actually goes right through that intertubercular groove, comes up and attaches on the scapula. And there's a lot of movement at that muscle. As you're moving, that tendon is going back and forth in that groove. And it's kind of like a rope. If you were to take a rope and rub it back and forth on the side of the desk, what's going to happen to that rope? It's going to fray, yeah, and possibly rip right in half eventually. We don't want that to happen at your bicep joint or your bicep muscle. That tendon has this tendon sheath to reduce friction as the tendon's rubbing back and forth in that groove so that it doesn't snap. If something was to happen that your tendon sheath doesn't do a good job and you rub and rub and rub that bicep tendon, eventually it will fray and can tear and you get sort of Popeye syndrome. What happens is that tendon, if it snaps, the contractile proteins in your muscle aren't just going to stop trying to contract just because there's damage to the tendon. Those contractile proteins are still going to contract, and because there's nothing holding it in place, it's going to contract the muscle all the way down to its distal attachment down closer to your elbow. And the muscle just balls up. Same thing if you tear your Achilles tendon. Your calf muscles just ball right up in the back of your ankle. The teacher that used to be here before me had that happen, and poor guy was on one of those like little scooter things forever. So we want these tendon sheaths. We want to protect our tendons. We don't want this to happen. Some of these look really bad. So he just looks super strong. So maybe you do with the staff, you get like big bicep looking muscles. Probably not though. I don't think it feels good. All right, so those are tendon sheaths. All right, so there are things that can go wrong at the joints. You can sprain your ligaments. So if you have a sprain, it means that you have either stretched or torn a ligament. This is different than a strain with a T. So sprain is stretching or tearing a ligament. These are not nice. They take quite a while to heal. Blood supply to those ligaments, not so great. So allowing those to have time to heal seems like it takes forever. If you've ever sprained anything, I'm sure you know. Especially ankles, I feel like those never heal. Definitely know that sprain and strain are not the same thing. If you strain something, we're talking about a muscle, okay? So straining a muscle. So the way I remember this, sprain is with ligament, strain with a T is muscle. If you're training, you're working out your muscles. So strain has to do with your muscles, so sprain is the ligament. And then a dislocation. These are not fun. Bones are forced out of alignment. Shoulder joint's a really good one for that to happen to. It's very movable. The more movable a joint is, the less stable it is. So it's a lot easier to pop those joints out of place. Shoulder joint also with the shape of it, you guys will see in lab, not super stable. For a ball and socket joint, it's not very nice holding it in place. It's just sort of like sitting together. So it's really easy to dislocate your shoulder joint. It's also possible to not completely dislocate, but more sublux. You get your shoulder joint to pop out slightly and then pop back in place. Happens to me often, and it sucks because as it grinds forward out of alignment, sometimes it can pinch your nerves. And that really doesn't feel so nice. So this shows a nice, what joint is this? Glenohumeral joint, good. So what is this structure? Good, head of humerus, this thing over here. Good, glenoid fossa. This looks nice. The head of the humerus sitting right next to that glenoid fossa. Everything's looking nice. And then something happens. Not so nice. Definitely dislocated that shoulder. What is this down here? Good, head of the humerus. Is it sitting with the glenoid fossa? No, that's way up here. Okay, so the shoulder's like hanging down here below the shoulder joint. Yeah, so it does not feel good. So that's what it would look like. You can dislocate other joints. Your fingers, you can pop those out of place. Hip's a little harder. It's a nice, stronger joint compared to your shoulder, but it's possible to pop it out of place. My sacroiliac joint, that one, especially in female. Getting close. You guys are about that age where your outside joint becomes a little weaker. Impossible to pop that out of place. Doesn't feel so great. So just anytime you're moving bones away from their normal alignment. Knees, yep, you can do that with knees also. Usually if you dislocate your knee though, you're gonna have some pretty big problems, even compared to shoulder. Knee chances are if you dislocate it, you're tearing ligaments and gonna need surgery. Shoulder, a lot of times you can just pop it back in place and wear a sling for a while. But that's one reason to work out. Strengthen your muscles. Your muscles, especially your rotator cuff muscles, are there to stabilize that joint. So when you have stronger muscles, help stabilize those joints so that they're not popping out of place. So it gets good reason to work out. I should take my own advice. Yeah. Slowly building up, working out. You don't want to just go all out and strain it. Still building that up to where you get stronger and stronger and do more and more with it. You don't want to go out all out right away. You guys can go online and read about arthritis, mostly because this is something you will deal with in the medical field. You're going to see someone with osteoarthritis, you're going to see people with rheumatoid arthritis. So go online, look at causes, symptoms, treatment, what you do for your patient if they came in with osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. So check that out a little bit. There is a test question on it. It'll be something that should be easy to find right on like front page of looking at each of these. Great. You guys have any questions? All right, so we're gonna get into lab stuff just a little bit so that you have less to lecture about in lab and can actually get more hands-on with the pro sections. We'll talk about this until our teaching comes in, and then whatever's left you guys will finish in lab. We'll just get some of the lecturing out of the way so you guys can do hands-on stuff, which is definitely more fun in lab than lecturing. All right, so TMJ joint, where do you find your TMJ? Okay, you can feel it on yourself. You put your fingers right in front of your ears. Open your mouth. You can feel the movement of that joint. Okay, so that's nice. TMJ, probably dentist's favorite joint. Or least favorite, I don't know. All right, so you have the mandibular condyles of your mandible. You've seen those sitting right in the mandibular fossa of the temporal bones. Okay, so temporomandibular joint. We're going to keep this one pretty simple, mostly because it's first time looking at donors. People don't want to see the face, and we like to keep face covered. So we're not going to be looking at the side of the face, looking at that temporomandibular joint, but definitely still know those on the bones. If we tag the mandibular condyles, still know what it is, what it's articulating with. But other than that, we're going to keep this face stuff to a minimum. Just looking at faces makes it more real, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so temporomandibular joint, again right there in front of your ear. All right, so you can feel that one, you can feel it move. How many of you are going back to school? You might get a chance to dissect this one day. You'll see lots of muscles and different things in this area. There's actually a lot going on in this area, especially right behind the mandible. So we won't do a whole lot in our class, but one day you might get a lot. You go into this dentist up there, you're going to do a lot with this region. All right, you guys already know glenohumeral joint. What two things come together to form it? Humerus, good, and okay, glenoid fossa. All right, where I told you this is the most movable joint, but as you increase movement, you decrease stability. So this one is the easiest to pop out of socket. All right, so anytime you increase movement, decrease stability. All right, so again, head of humerus sits in that glenoid fossa of the scapula. Nice X-ray picture of that joint. You guys are going to see some structures in lab. We have a glenoid labrum, we have ligaments, rotator cuff muscles. We mentioned labrum on Monday. I already forget what day it is. I thought it was Thursday all day. But labrum, do you guys remember what type of cartilage that was made of? I think I heard it, fibrocartilage. Right. All right, so the glenoid labrum is a nice rim of fibrocartilage. So we saw the head of the humerus sitting in the splenoid